What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome to the MKO Pugilism Boxing channel, where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, put it on all so you get notified as soon as we drop new content on the channel. Without further ado, let's get into this one. So this video here, I'm going to talk about Anthony Joshua calling out TalkSport for their bias. And Simon Jordan, just today, not too long ago, I saw Simon Jordan's response to that. So we're just going to talk a bit about that in this video, because I think it's an interesting subject, and it's a subject that a lot of people can sort of relate to, and it's something you would have seen if you watch TalkSport regular or listen. So anyway, in a TalkSport interview, recent one, would have been yesterday with Anthony Joshua. He got interviewed by Spencer Oliver, who he knows quite well. And the interview was titled "An Attack on My Name." Obviously, they're looking for clicks and stuff. And Anthony Joshua did say that. He said he felt that there has been an attack on his name. He made several points in that interview, and some of the key significant points were that he believed TalkSport has favorites. They have their favorite guys, and those guys are just sort of the favorites who sort of can't do any wrong. He went on to do a little comparison between himself and Tyson Fury, so we got the picture very, very quickly of who he's talking about as a favorite. So his example he used, he mentioned that Tyson Fury went 12 rounds with Otto Wallin. He got a busted eye, and no one complained about that. No one criticized that performance. But when I go 12 rounds now with Jermaine Franklin, I'm coming off a layoff. He was coming off of a layoff. I'm coming off of a loss and whatnot. So then when I go 12 rounds, people got a double standard, and they say, what's wrong with the heavyweight division? So he tried to compare Otto Wallin to Jermaine Franklin, those two. And but for me, I would say that while I get it, I get why he makes a comparison, but I think that comparison to me is quite flawed, because with Tyson Fury has always been known as a boxer. Tyson Fury is known as a slickster. He uses movement, good upper body movement. So he's not really known as a puncher, whereas Anthony Joshua is known as a puncher. So going into the Franklin fight, the people who like him, or the people even who dislike him, they're going into that fight to watch a knockout. So they're expecting, right, this guy, Anthony Joshua, if he's got anything about him. Even people with a lot of knowledge in boxing, Spencer Farron said, look, if he don't knock this guy out, is retirement. So Joshua, because of his style, being the puncher, the knockout was actually expected, whereas with Fury and Wallin, there was a surprise about the cut. And I think there was criticism at the time of Fury's performance, that it wasn't all that great, but credit to him, he went through the cut, gritted it out, and he was just himself. But when it was Franklin versus AJ now, AJ was a bit out of character. He wasn't fighting in that way that we come to know him for. He was a bit more gun shy. He was boxing. His style was very different, and that's not what people know Anthony Joshua for. So when that sort of thing happens, you are going to get the criticism. So for me, that thing doesn't carry, because they're two different styles and whatnot. And Simon Jordan, in his response, just briefly what I've taken from it, he was essentially saying that AJ deserves a WBC whining belt, because all he does is whine, and he's the biggest guy in the room, so he should expect the criticism from him. And he was trying to say that the criticism AJ made of him is ridiculous, and he said AJ just needs to man up. He just needs to be a man and take the criticism. He claimed that all he's doing, Simon Jordan, that is he's just asking the difficult questions. He said, that is all I'm doing. I'm just asking the tough questions. And these boxers, they get all sensitive when asked the tough questions. They get bent out of shape, blah, blah, blah. And he was just saying Anthony Joshua just can't take criticism. And he was saying, Joshua, you just need to grow up, and you need to man up. You're meant to be a champion, you're a former champion, we expect more from you, blah, blah, blah. So that was his sort of thing on it. So he completely denied TalkSport having any agenda, and just said all it is these boxers don't like when I call them out. So that was Simon's sort of retort. There's more to it, but that was the main message that I got from it. Now, for me personally, I believe, like many others, that Anthony Joshua has undergone a lot of criticism over the past, especially the past, I want to say 3 years. He's gone over a lot of criticism because of his performances against Alexander Usyk. And I think even going back to his performance in the rematch over Andy Ruiz. Now, I saw what he done as, tactical decision. This guy, you don't need to engage with this guy, so you don't engage with him, you just get the victory. And his main priority was, look, I've just been knocked out, so I just need to get back in and get the victory. So I saw that. But even from the Ruiz performance, a lot of people were doubting him. A lot of people were critical of that, just saying he ran around the ring and that was it. So from even that performance, he's got a lot of criticism. And a lot of it is just due to what I said earlier, which is that we know Anthony Joshua, he burst onto the scene as a powerful puncher, come forward, combination puncher, whose objective when he gets in that ring is to take you out, to terminate you, to destroy you. And that's how he always fought from day one. He's a puncher. He's a good combination puncher. He's a guy that really puts the work in, and his objective is to take you out. So I think that the shift from being that guy, the combination puncher, the power puncher, the guy that's always coming forward, to now being a guy who's a boxer, who goes on the back foot, who is more safety first. And the fact that, although, I respect Anthony Joshua greatly, but he has become safety first, and he has become gun shy over the past few years. So, whereas a lot of people thought going into the Usyk fight, you got to stick it on Usyk. He's the smaller man. You got to stick it on him. You got to put the pressure on him. You got to break him down. You got to fight like a big man. You got to really swing for the fences and go at this guy. And a lot of people thought that, including myself, that he was kind of in there overthinking things. He was baffled by what Usyk was doing, and it was like he was scared to get hit and he was scared to engage. In certain instances, that's what it looked like, especially in the first fight. So the fact that his style has now shifted and switched, and he's not performing in the exciting way that people came to know him for originally, I think that's where a lot of the criticism comes from. So he's right in that, yes, you're under heavy criticism, but the criticism comes from the fact of the style change, and also, I believe, because of the fact that he's lost a few times now. And thanks to Floyd Mayweather, when you lose your O, it is a big deal, and a lot of we put a lot of emphasis on that O in this day and age. So I think that's got a lot to do with it, that style change. But however, I must say that I do stand where I do agree with Anthony Joshua, is that when it comes to TalkSport, they do have their favorites. There's no question about that. And I think anyone who's honest, who watches TalkSport, watches the YouTube, listens to the radio, listens to Simon Jordan, any of these other guys, Gareth A. Davies, Spencer Oliver, they do have their leanings. And the fact is that where we can give them credit, we can give sometimes TalkSport credit, is that they do ask tough questions to a lot of people. Like, I've got a list here, like, these guys, Eddie Hearn, they ask him the tough questions. They ask Anthony Joshua the tough questions. Chris Eubank Sr., when he came on there, speaking about his son, and they criticized his training and everything, and they went in on these guys. Chris Eubank Jr. as well, they questioned him, they were harsh, they asked the hard questions with Conor Benn, Dillian White, Derek Chisora. They've gone in on people, they've asked tough questions of a lot of people. But where we have to agree with Anthony Joshua is that they have their favorites. And without question, one of their biggest favorites, if not their biggest favorite, is Frank Warren. Whenever you see Frank Warren on TalkSport, he's always allowed to dictate the direction of the conversation. He dominates the conversation. And it's like with him, if you compare his interviews on there to Eddie Hearn, it's like night and day. With Eddie Hearn, they go all guns blazing, ask him whatever they want to ask him. He's got to answer the tough question. But with Frank Warren, it's like he's got some sort of hold on them where they just don't hold him accountable. I mean, even like a recent conversation that he had on TalkSport with Spencer Oliver and Gareth A. Davies was about what Fury's going to do next. And many of us know that there's all these rumors. It's not confirmed, I don't think, but Francis Ngannou, who is a former UFC heavyweight champion, and that's going to be happening next. Now, You would think any sort of normal boxing observer, pundit, a fan or whoever would be unhappy with this announcement because number one, your main priority is boxing. And Tyson Fury holds the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the world. So when you hear news that Tyson Fury, who's meant to be a boxer, is now going to take on a UFC champion, and he's still holding the WBC belt, and he still has not gone into a unification fight or undisputed fight against the guy that holds the rest of the belt, that's not a game changer. But these guys were on there saying, oh yeah, Ngannou is going to bring his audience and Fury's going to bring his audience and it's a massive fight. Oh yeah, it's great. And you think to yourself, why aren't these guys asking Warren the tough questions? Like, your guy's meant to be a boxing champion and you're allowing him now to not even fight other boxers. It's not even like, oh, he's going to fight another contender. He's going to fight Frank Sanchez. He's going to fight someone else in the rankings. Nah, he's going to fight a UFC guy who has absolutely no chance of winning. And these guys are on there calling it game changing. Now, let that have been Eddie Hearn on there trying to do the same thing with Anthony Joshua. Let Anthony Joshua be fighting a UFC guy or whatever, and they'd stick it on Anthony Joshua. They'd have a problem with that. They'd question it. They'd call it out as the rubbish that it is. But when it comes to Frank Warren, he's allowed to just get away with it. And they also failed to hold Tyson Fury to account for this circus fight with Francis Ngannou, and also for the fact that he single-handedly messed up the negotiations with Alexander Usyk. They're both going to get paid tens of millions in Saudi Arabia, but because of Tyson Fury continuously moving the goalposts, the fight didn't happen. They won't, and they don't hold Tyson Fury to account. They don't hold Frank Warren accountable for all that nonsense. And they're going to say something like Fury versus a non-boxer is game-changing. Now, we understand that, yes, guys have like Floyd Mayweather fought Conor McGregor, but Floyd Mayweather fought Conor McGregor after he'd done everything. He didn't fight Conor McGregor in the prime of his career when he's still holding belts. He fought him at the end of his career when he's basically retired. The same with Muhammad Ali and that wrestler that he fought. This is guys that are at the end of their career. They've done all that there is to do. They've cleaned up their divisions. And then they're doing these sort of circus acts or whatever, like Mayweather's going exhibitions against whoever. But when it comes to Fury and when it comes to Warren, these guys at TalkSport do not hold them to account. So in that respect, I must say that AJ does have a point, because for some reason or another, they seem to be scared to ask the tough questions to certain people, namely Tyson Fury and Frank Warren. But anyway, let me know your opinion on this in the comment section below. Until next time, it's MKO Pugilism over and out.